Hey, it's Coach Jackie. Today, the President of the United States called a U.S. Olympian a real loser. That's the first time in history that's ever happened, I'm pretty sure. Don't have to fact check that. Don't think that's ever happened. Why? Because he spoke out against the actions of this country, as they all should be doing. And I said he. You know it's bad when I'm defending a man. And then there's a bunch of other women in the Olympics who have spoken out as well and who are facing backlash. Particularly Amber Glenn is facing a lot of backlash. And I want to talk about all of it. I want to just be a supportive voice to these people who are speaking out, but also talk about the fact that the president of our country and a lot of other conservative right leaders are currently encouraging people to root against these Americans who are exercising their right of free speech to have an opinion on what's happening in their country. That's like a very like fundamental part of what it means to be an American, I would say. And in the name of patriotism, conservative right people are saying root against these athletes. They are asking people to root against American athletes and saying it's patriotic. And they're also saying that politics and sports don't go together. So we're going to talk about all of that. Sports are, of course, inherently political, and I'm going to give a bajillion examples of how and why, particularly the Olympics, are inherently political. We'll get into that. I was going to do a short video on this. There's too much to say. I could talk all day. So I want to start by talking about what Amber Glenn said, and then we'll go to the man skier who Trump attacked and the rest of the people and the responses.
Yeah, it's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And
the community she's talking about is the LGBTQ plus community. So Amber is a U.S. figure skater. She is queer. She's outspoken about that. She was asked about that in relation to representing the United States, just considering how this administration's not been very good for queer people. And so she's going to talk about that and then kind of go into just in general what it means right now to speak out about what's going on in our country.
Now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities. And I think that we are able to support each other in a way that we didn't have to before. And because of that, it's made us a lot stronger. I hope I can use my platform and my voice throughout these games to try and encourage people to stay strong in these hard times. I know that a lot of people say, you're just an athlete, like stick to your job, shut up about politics, but politics affect us all. It is something that I will not just be quiet about because it is something that affects us in our everyday life.
If politics don't affect you, like, think about that. Think about that. Everyone's like, oh, politics, you can just stay out of politics. If you have the privilege of staying out of politics, then you're a privileged person, and that's a whole different conversation. Politics actually do affect us all. And if you happen to be someone who's benefiting from the atrocities that's happening in our country, then you need to sit with yourself and think about that.
So, of course, there are things that I disagree with, but as a community, we are strong and we support each other, and brighter days are ahead of us.
Amber's just the best. She really is. And brighter days are ahead of us is such a great way to put it. And so she posts that. And of course, everyone just gets all upset. And everyone being conservatives get really upset. Particularly, I found this to be a very interesting one from Megyn Kelly, who we all know sucks. And she quote tweeted that video and said, "Another turncoat to root against." So she's encouraging people to root against Amber, which, I'm sorry, do you want us to do well at this Olympics? You're going to root against one of our best Olympians? And I had to look up what turncoat was because I was like, what do you mean turncoat? Like, I could use context clues, but let's just get the definition here. Turncoat, a person who deserts one party or cause in order to join an opposing one. I don't know what like, she's opposing what? She said that brighter days are ahead and that she wants people to find strength in her performance at this Olympics and that this administration's been a difficult one for queer people. Where is she lying? Where is she lying? Then she posts on her Instagram after this question she's asked and she answers the question. She posts on her Instagram on her story. She says, when I chose to utilize one of the amazing things about the United States of America, parentheses, freedom of speech, close parentheses, to convey how I feel as an athlete competing for Team USA in a troubling time for many Americans, I am now receiving a scary amount of hate/threats for simply using my voice when asked how I feel. I did anticipate this, but I'm disappointed by it. I will be limiting my time on social media for my own well-being for now, but I will never stop using my voice for what I believe in. XOXO Amber. You are threatening a US Olympian during the Olympics because you're that good of an American? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And she was asked a question, she answered the question honestly. If we don't want people to answer questions honestly and to express themselves and to use their free speech, then what do we stand for as a country? We're just going around and like trying to find anyone who dissents against the authoritarian regime we're under and then fight against them. Like, it is beyond dystopic. It is beyond dystopic how we live. And I like at the end that she says, I'm limiting my time on social media because I need to compete in this Olympics and have my head be in the game. But I still believe what I believe. Like, you guys didn't win. You're not silencing me because, and that means you won. I'm leaving social media for a second because I'm actively competing in the Olympics. And she made like a tiny mistake in her routine during the team event today. Today is Sunday, the 8th. And I went online immediately. People are like, serves her right. Like, as it should be. That's what you get for rebelling against the country and like all this stuff. And it's like, no, serves you right. Like, you guys, and I'm not saying that like she made this mistake because people were coming at her, but it sure didn't help. Like, I'm sure that made it harder to exist as a Olympian when you're getting threats online. And you're supposed to be the people who are the real Americans. Please, please. Okay, now let's move on to the fellas. So then the fellas, they're two U.S. skiers, Chris Lillis and Hunter Hess. And they were asked a similar question, and this is what they said.
I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when, I'm pretty sure you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights and making sure that we're treating our citizens as well as anybody with love and respect. And I hope that when people look at athletes compete in the Olympics, they realize that that's the America that we're trying to represent.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't.
He's so bro-y. Like, I love that he's like, yeah, it's a little hard. Obviously, like, I'm not a huge fan of what's happening. Like, it is the least extreme statement, because Hunter Hess is the one that, like, particularly is getting most people upset, and you'll see why in a second. That's the one that Trump said was a loser, is Hunter. He literally goes, yeah, I'm just not a big fan. Like, when I was a kid, I couldn't say the word hate. Like, if I tried food and I didn't like it, I would be like, ugh, I hate this. My mom would say, no, you can't say hate. You have to say you're not a big fan of that food. So I would always say that. When I didn't like someone, I'd say, I'm not a huge fan of them. And that's what he's doing about the atrocities happening in our country. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a huge fan. Like, it's a great statement. Like, I'm so glad he said it. It's not very extreme in relation to the response he's getting, but let's keep going, because I think it's particularly the fact that he invokes the flag in this next statement that gets people upset.
If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
I think it's that language, because I'm like, wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything this country is doing, which like is a great statement. I think everyone should be echoing that. I think a lot of people are echoing it. A lot of people are saying they feel the same way, particularly, right? Alyssa Liu, she reposted that video. She also reposted Amber's statement as well. So Alyssa is right there with them. You have somebody like Jessie Diggins, who before the Olympics made this statement: I just want to make sure you know who I'm racing for when I get to the start line of the Olympics. I'm racing for an American people who stand for love, acceptance, compassion, honesty, and respect for others. I do not stand for hate or violence or discrimination. I get to decide who I'm racing for every single day and how I want to live up to my values. For everyone out there caring for others, protecting their neighbors, and meeting people with love, every single step is for you. You are the ones who make me proud to carry the flag, and I hope I can bring you joy over these next few weeks. Jessie Diggins, of course, lives in Minnesota, is from Minnesota, so I think that's like an extra special statement from her, particularly with what's going on in Minnesota. But I want to, once again, like what Jessie said, she said she wants to race for the American people who stand for love, acceptance, and compassion, honesty, and respect. What did Chris Lillis say? Similar thing. He was like honesty and good values, and that's like honesty and love, I think he said. That's what I'm racing for. And like, they're upset at that. If you're upset at someone saying that they want everyone to feel accepted, you need to look inward. You need to look inward. We also have Michaela Schifrin, who spoke out. She actually quoted Nelson Mandela. Let's just watch a little bit of that.
Peace is not just the absence of conflict. Peace is the creation of an environment where we can all flourish, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, gender, class, caste, or any other social markers of difference.
I'll stop there because it's pretty much the same as everyone else is saying, but like, she also is basically saying, yeah, I just want everyone to be accepted. These aren't really extreme stances. American snowboarder Chloe Kim wrote in a caption, "My parents left South Korea in search of a better future for their family. They left behind everything they knew so that my sisters and I could have the chance to one day live the American dream. Their sacrifice is one I will never take for granted. So when I stand at the top of the halfpipe competing on the biggest stage in sport, I do so with immense pride. I am representing my country, but I'm also representing those who took a leap of faith, who came to this beautiful nation carrying hopes, dreams, and courage. I am proud of my heritage, I am proud of my journey, and I am proud to represent a country that is strongest when it embraces diversity, dignity, and hope. Go Team USA." I think most American people are upset with what's going on right now and would agree with these athletes who are speaking out. But of course not the president of the United States. No way. So all of these statements are particularly about Hunter Hess. I think because, like I said, he invoked the flag, everyone got extra mad. But they kind of are attacking all of them at the same time. U.S. Olympic skier Hunter Hess, a real loser, says Trump, says he doesn't represent his country in the current Winter Olympics. If that's the case, he shouldn't have tried out for the team. And it's too bad he's on it. Hilarious that Trump thinks that it's like he shouldn't have tried out. Girl, we wanted him. Girl, we had competitions to see who was the best in his sport, and we chose him because we want to win medals. Because we want America to win the most medals, because that's what Americans want. But apparently we actually want to call the people who can win us medals real losers. He said, "Very hard to root for someone like this." Jake Paul said, "Wow, please shut up. From all true Americans, if you don't want to represent this country, go live somewhere else." Hilarious because, and this is just ironic, I think, Jake Paul is at the Olympics because his fiance is a speed skater for the Netherlands. She's Dutch. So he is actively gonna be rooting for non-America at these Olympics. And I'm not saying that's bad. I feel like, yeah, you should root for your fiance, like duh. But it is ironic that I think he's deciding who's a real American when he's at the Olympics to cheer on his Dutch girlfriend. Okay, or fiance, sorry. This man said, "You chose to wear our flag. You chose to represent our country. You chose to compete at the Olympics. If that's too hard for you, then go home. Some things are bigger than politics." Don't get me started on that. Some things are bigger than politics. I'm sorry, is politics not human rights? What's bigger than that? You think, sorry, in this case, sports is bigger than politics? Sports is politics. Sports is politics. I'm gonna get to that. Sports is politics. And then the guy says, "You just don't get it. You just don't get it, please." This one is, I think, by far the worst. This is from a Megyn Kelly repost. Okay. New rule. If you are a member of the U.S. Olympic team and you publicly criticize the USA while on foreign soil, you are off the team. You have 15 minutes to gather your things in the Olympic Village. Someone will drive you to the airport and push you out on the curb. Figure out your own way to fly home. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure Olympians have to pay for their way, so they kind of already have to do that. Anyway, being a USA Olympian is a privilege, not a right. Too bad you couldn't figure that out. What is going on? Is it not the right's whole thing that dissent against the country, like if we are saying that you can't say anything negative about the country you live in, and that means you're not a real American if you speak out against the country, that feels like the exact opposite of what y'all were saying a couple years ago when you were storming the Capitol. That's all I'm trying to say. But let's talk about the fact that some things are bigger than politics, because I would say nothing is. I would say literally politics is the biggest thing. If you understand politics encompasses the rights of every human to live and to have access to the things we need to survive, which is what it is. But particularly I want to talk about the fact that sports and politics have been and will always be intrinsically connected. They just are. And particularly the Olympics. I don't know that we've had an Olympics where there hasn't been a protest or a boycott or some kind of political thing happen. I think the one that comes to mind is the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, and Jesse Owens making a statement and winning all of those track and field events and kind of ruining Hitler's vision for his perfect Olympics. That was a political statement, and that was sports, and the two cannot be disconnected. It's not as political without sports, and it is not the sporting event that it is without the geopolitical implications. Then you've got 1968 Mexico City Games. That one comes to mind for a lot of people. I think a lot of people have been posting the image of Tommy Smith and John Carlos doing the Black Power salute on the podium. And that is a huge example of using the stage to speak out. It's kind of like it happened then and it's happening now. But when it happened then, they were expelled from the games. And still to this day, you cannot make political gestures on the podium, I guess, is the rule that the IOC has. The International Olympics Committee kind of denies in general that Olympics are political. They're very much like, oh, Olympics are apolitical. Point to any Olympics that's ever been apolitical. You can't. You literally can't, but sure, whatever. But they were expelled from those games. And then in more recent times, people protesting the human rights violations in Beijing in 2022. Then in 2024, for the opening ceremonies, the Palestinian flag bearer had depictions of children being bombed on his shirt, protesting the genocide. A big one that comes to mind is 1980, during like Cold War era. The Olympics were hosted in Moscow, and 65 countries, including the US, boycotted those Olympics. And then when the US hosted in 1984, Soviet Union boycotted our Olympics. But sports aren't political. Sure. If sports aren't political, then why did it make such a big impact when Colin Kaepernick took a knee during the national anthem, when Megan Rapinoe followed suit, when the U.S. women's national team was taking a knee during the national anthem? You look at the WNBA, a very historically political league, and in women's sports in general, right? Women's sports is so political. Every time a woman takes part in sports, I would say that is a political thing, because sports were originally created as a thing that men did and women didn't. So every time a woman takes part in sports, that is in some ways a small protest. It is an act of inclusion. It's a radical act of inclusion. But back to the WNBA, like I was saying, the WNBA, during when they were all quarantined in 2020 in the WNBA bubble, they all stood together, all 144 of them, and wore shirts that say, "Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor." Sports are political. Sports are political. And a better example, the Atlanta Dream used to be co-owned by this woman, what was her name? Kelly Loeffler, who was a Republican senator for Georgia. And she was running against this Democrat, Raphael Warnock. And the team showed up to a game with t-shirts that said, "Vote Warnock." They showed up to a game with t-shirts that said, "Vote for the opponent of our owner." And guess what? Raphael Warnock won. Like, sports are political. It's just a microcosm of society. Of course they're political. And by the way, it is the right that has made sports political so many times before. They're the ones saying that, keep it just to sports. Really? If we're keeping things just to sports, why are you hosting the All-American halftime show? I'm filming this on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm about to go watch the Super Bowl after I'm done with this. And I know that I won't be watching the Turning Point USA All-American halftime show with Kid Rock. I'll be watching Bad Bunny. But you guys are protesting. This is what you are actively doing. This is what the right is doing. You are protesting the Bad Bunny performance by putting on your own performance hosted by a political organization. But you're the one saying that sports aren't political. Sure. And if sports aren't political, then why is sports the main way you are trying to fearmonger and get people to hate trans women in this country? Sports is like the all-American pastime, and the right understands that if they want someone to hate a trans person, they should say that trans women are attacking women's sports, because that's a way in, because sports are political. They politicize sports against trans people all the time. That is like their number one move against trans women and girls in this country, is to politicize sports. So make it make sense, have it add up. And what exposes the most truth about the situation is how the rest of the world is responding to us at this Olympics. And then what I mean by that is not well. What I mean by that is booing. They are booing us. When we walked into the opening ceremony and they cut to JD Vance, boos across the whole stadium, as there should be. What we're doing right now as a country is not okay. What this flag represents right now is not good things. Even like there are Americans, fans who are there who don't really know how to kind of cheer and what's the right way to be. And how to be a fan of American sports right now. It's weird. It's hard. It's mixed feelings, as Hunter has said. You want to make sure that you're representing the right aspects of what's happening in our country right now, the people who are fighting for what's good. You've got Gus Kenworthy, who's this British freestyle skier who peed F ice in the snow and then had this caption with a script about how you can protest. That's happening from someone who's British. Like, this is no longer something that is just happening in our country. This is the world speaking out against what our country is doing. So I guess I want to end this by saying I'm wearing my Team USA jersey right now, specifically in support of every single athlete who has made any statement to say that they're representing not what this country has done, but what they believe it can be. And I think that's really powerful and really beautiful. And I think that it is uniquely ironic that right now there is so much noise coming from inside our country against these athletes that's literally might be affecting their performance in the name of patriotism. Never in a million years did I think that the right would be messing with athletes. They love sports, they love Olympics, they love medals. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, and yet that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. So I want to say to all of you, don't let it get in your head. You're doing what's right. And honestly, I would, if I was one of them, I'd be more in my head if I didn't say something, because I would be constantly thinking, like, I hope everyone knows what I'm doing this for and what I really believe. So we're all proud of you, I think is the point. And sports are political. They always will be. And silence is violence. Silence is compliance at this point. I'm doing these YouTube videos more now. Please tell me what it is you want to see. The suppression on the other app is super real, so I'm sticking here for more of that long form stuff so I can really get into it. So give me some topics. It doesn't have to be about politics, any fun women's sports stuff, or just whatever you want to see. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.